What is up, everybody? My name is Ryan. This is the Kingsman Report. It's the news everyone ignores, and I am with the Midnight Rider, Paul Revere 11. He is monitoring DLive. I'm monitoring YouTube, and tonight we're going to go over some news. Now, we've been beating a dead horse when it comes to, we'll call it the WV, okay? Because even if you mention it now, they're going to try to boot you off YouTube. So because we're on YouTube right now, Twitch, DLive, and Periscope, we got to be careful about what we're saying. So, everyone, you can welcome Paul. Paul, and say hello to everybody.
Good day, everybody.
He will also be monitoring the phone calls. If you guys choose to want to call in at 1408-638-0968. Enter the meeting ID 534-233-4758. And Paul will screen your phone calls. And possibly when we get off here tonight, we'll come back over to DLive and just hang out with people over here. So, let's go ahead and get into this. It looks like there's probably, 5 people over there. And a couple people over here, so. I'm not gonna, when it comes to these types of articles here, I don't ever read through these articles. I don't want to promote this stuff and make it seem like it's, I'm not giving any glorification to this. So I'm just going to say, pray for the families involved in this. There was another shooting at Texas A&M University Commerce Residence Hall. So pray for the people involved in that. And, you know, it's crazy that all this stuff has to happen. All right. So some of the articles we're going to go over tonight, a lot of it pretty much seems like it has to do with espionage. You know, we have ex-CIA engineer goes to trial for massive leak. Video catches cop stealing cash from a home, and he's not arrested. Of course not. How to stop police from asking for your videos for Amazon Ring, because there's been all these data breaches that are going on with Amazon. People have came forward from Amazon and said that they've seen videos that are going around there that they're not even supposed to be able to see. Also, police departments have backdoor access to it. Matter of fact, I threw a huge fit about it over here in Oklahoma because everyone was just, you know, praising that the government has access to that. Me and Paul actually talked about this. We have children. Feds getting into the school security business, which does seem like a good idea as far as if they're not out creating criminals. But as I think as far as a protection aspect, it's probably a good idea. It'd be better than, you know, the artificial intelligence gathering data on your young children at an early age. And then we'll get into the stuff here that has to do with $90 billion in U.S. taxpayer money donated to Global Slush Fund to fight AIDS, but a portion of it ended up going to the Clintons and the Soros and others instead. And then Congress votes to finally in 2002 war authorization and attempt to stop conflict with Iran. Wyatt skipped that one. Oh, yes, this article. Erdogan calls situation in Syria's Idlib unmanageable and says 1 million refugees approach Turkish border. Mystery deepens over 42 oddly buried skeletons found in UK farm. Here's one on YouTube will police political videos more closely. If you're posting anything political that doesn't align with their ideology, if you're posting anything that has to do with the WV that's going over on in China right now, you will get booted. So all your hard work is just, you're gonna end up throwing it down the drain. So don't even waste your time. We thought this article was hilarious. A guy wheels around 99 phones in a cart to create traffic jams on Google Maps. Paul came up with a pretty good explanation of why you would do that or how it would be beneficial to, I guess, opening up your street, right, Paul?
Yeah, if you want to make a profit doing that, you just make your street look busy, and so that people don't drive down it, and then you got parking places. So this guy could actually go to all the residents on the street and start asking for money for his service, and they might even pay it. Even a simple $10 a month would, on a large city street, would add up to quite a bit of money, and maybe even more from businesses. And so you make it look busy, and then they'd have parking places, and yeah,
pretty clever.
it's another way.
It's a pretty clever idea. I mean, and especially if you used it to do something like that, it would be definitely clever. So we're gonna talk about this, but we're not gonna like emphasize on this. If you're on YouTube watching right now and you've been over on our DLive channel, we're covering this, or we've covered this, and oh, thank you, Lynette W. We've covered this in excess over on DLive, so we're not gonna cover it on YouTube. They're taking everyone's videos down that have to do with this, but California confirms 3 more new cases of the, we're calling it the UV on here. Has to do with, in this article too, virus fears wipe $393 billion off China's stock market despite government support moves. And then another one here, China accused U.S. of causing panic and spreading fear. And then these 2 weird articles, which I know a lot of ominous things go on around Mexico with drug cartels and things like that, but for some reason, 2, I guess they're activists, right, Paul? Monarch butterfly activists.
Yeah.
Conservative, whatever. 2 of them have been killed recently for some strange reason. We can only speculate why, but we have articles on both of them because I started looking into it, and then one just so happened to die again. What's up, Paul?
They're trying to make it look like it was they're against the illegal logging or logging in the area, so that's why they're made a conservatory for the butterfly sanctuary. But it also might be remote and might be something to do with drugs too. We don't know. But the story is talking about logging and how logging, they're trying to imply that some logger did it. That's the way it's seeming in the article.
So they're trying to push the blame on somebody else, like, okay. It probably does have to do with something else, which I don't really like to speculate on, but I'm sure it probably does. My kid's godfather is from Chihuahua, Mexico.
When freaky aliens
he says
give
it's
you
pretty
lemons,
crazy though.
make freaky alien lemonade.
Manly Chest, thank you for the lemon. And by the way, everybody, if you see that popping up, the people on DLive can donate and participate. As a matter of fact, they'll get because they're on DLive, we'll crack a chest at the end of this, and they'll be able to collect the benefits of that chest. Oh, you need to go to DLive. I can't play videos and stuff on here. Dude, it's so hard doing. Look, I'm just gonna be straight up. It's so hard doing YouTube. It's in Twitch because I have to be very. Thank you, not my child, HD Sky. It's very hard to do to watch what I say doing this. So that's why I stammer on my words. It's very hard. So we're just gonna get into this. Hopefully we can run through some of this like a marathon. So pray for the families that were involved, the women and the children that were killed, the women that were killed and the children that were injured in the Texas A&M shooting today. Pray for them. Pray for the people that have been infected from this WV. We're calling it WV because we don't want to get the boot from YouTube just yet. We have to build a higher audience before that happens. So pray for all the stuff going on. That's why we made this thumbnail. And it says that clearly, apocalypse or signs of the times, because there's so much crazy crap going on. It's almost like everything that's happening right now is apocalyptic. Espionage, the pestilence, the famine, everything going on in the world today is just, it seems very apocalyptic. So we'll go ahead and get into this news. So first article here, John Solomon's laptop stolen near White House using sophisticated device contains sensitive data on Ukraine and the Bidens, which is might get us in trouble for even mentioning that guy's name. A thief.
Well, he has brought it. He has brought it onto himself with being running for office. You know, I mean, his name's out there.
Yeah, that's true, and we'll see here coming up pretty soon what's going to actually happen with this impeachment fiasco. Because as far as it's looking right now, the Republicans are going to vote not to see any witnesses, and he might get a what is it called? He might get acquitted. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm getting tired of watching Schiff freaking stand up there and cluck like a chicken.
I do want to backtrack back to that Mexican story for a second. I just looked up where the Machacan, Mexico is. It's pretty much exactly on the Guatemalan border. So this area would be significant if it's heavily treed. Would be a very significant route to run stuff through as far as drugs, guns, whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
So I was on the right track.
Yeah, but I mean, it could be their cover that they're butterfly conservatives. You know what I mean? It could be their cover, but who knows? They could have just gotten away. They could have seen something that they didn't. They could have seen something that they shouldn't have seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're talking significantly close to the border.
Like runs right up to it.
Yeah, like it's the next town to the border.
Hey, what's up, Heather? Huh. Yeah, I'm getting a message from these elites and slaves. And by the way, everyone, if you're on YouTube and you're seeing the chat run on right now, you're seeing everything is integrated, so everyone can talk back and forth with each other. It doesn't matter what platform you're on. Everyone can talk to each other, whether they're on YouTube, watching right now, or DLive. So you guys feel free to chat back and forth cross-platform. That's crazy, Paul. They may have seen something they shouldn't have seen, or they may have known about something that they shouldn't have known about, and maybe they were off, and who knows?
Well, it does even say in the article how dangerous is Mexico, what happened, and it says Mexico's most powerful drug cartels, like right under the whole story. So, I mean, there is, and then they don't talk about it at all. They just say those two things. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they also imply that could be the case too. They don't touch it into it at all. They tell you the murder rate and how much violence and stuff in the country.
It's crazy. Crazy world. So this article here, we'll jump into this. Paul, you probably know a lot more about this type of stuff too. This first article is John Solomon's laptop stolen near White House using sophisticated device contains sensitive data on Ukraine and the Bidens. And like we just mentioned here, we may get in trouble for saying his name, but Paul made a clear statement there. He's kind of put his name out there by running for president. So this says a thief absconded with John Solomon's laptop on the eve of the Senate impeachment trial, snatching the evidence-filled device out of the investigative journalist's car, which was parked near the White House, according to a Real Clear Investigations, citing a report by D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. Solomon told RCT's Paul Sperry that the laptop, which has been recovered, contained notes on Ukraine and former Vice President Joe Biden and other sensitive information. The case is currently under investigation by the MPD detective, and the Secret Service is also involved in the matter, which appears suspicious. Break-ins are rare in the high-security area where the crime occurred, just outside the White House perimeter, and a sophisticated device appears to have been used to get into the vehicle. In an early evening of January 20th, the police report states Solomon's Apple MacBook laptop and computer bag valued at around $1,800 were stolen from the 2019 Toyota SUV parked at 1776, a nice address, F Street, northwest across from the White House Eisenhower Executive Office building. No windows were broken, and there were no signs of forced entry. Authorities suspect the thief or thieves used an electronic jamming device to open car door lock. I've covered articles on this. So I've covered I covered tech breaches and stuff like that. I'm not like a tech whiz by any means, but people are going around. So I always tell people, keep your stuff inside your house. Don't leave it in your car. Keep it in your house. So they're going around with their apps. You can download these apps. Don't get any ideas when I share this with you guys. You can download applications, and they will show every Bluetooth device in the vicinity of where you're at, okay? So people are walking around your neighborhoods, and the reason they know what vehicles to hit is because they're walking around this application that says, well, the Bluetooth is active in this car. And not only that, it shows you what kind of device the Bluetooth is showing a signal from. So if you got a MacBook Air on there, it's going to show up, oh, there's a MacBook Air. It's in this vehicle. And it shows meter-wise how close you are, so they know exactly which vehicles to pinpoint. So lock your crap up. This probably was a targeted thing as far as the information that it contained, and then wanting to suppress that said information. Wouldn't you say, Paul? That's what it sounds like to me. For someone to be that ballsy enough to say, hey, we're going to steal that guy's laptop, I would think it would be targeted.
Well, I recommend not leaving your Bluetooth on it ever. It's almost. I'm pretty sure it's worse than Wi-Fi.
Yeah, turn your airplane mode off or on. Sorry, not off. Turn your airplane look. Don't leave your laptops in your vehicles. Anyways, don't do that. But if you do that, or anytime you're not using your laptop, just lock the freaking turn the airplane mode on and leave it like that, because this is how sophisticated thieves are getting, to the point to where they're just like, well, there's a laptop in that car, and they can just target every car. Instead of the old smash and grabs that used to go on. What's up, Nick Show? I see you in there. Lynette W. Been a long time. We're trying to get back to normal over here, Nick Show, so I'm trying to bring both houses together with YouTube and DLive. So it says the computer bag was discovered the next day, a block away from where his car was parked, with the contents dumped out on a picnic bench near the FDIC building, a location with no security cameras, which authorities described as one of the rare, quote, dark spots in the area. Yeah, most definitely sounds like these people know exactly what they were doing. Solomon says he was working on computer forensics expertise to determine whether any of the information on his laptop was exploited or if his hard drive was scanned. It's a pretty professional job, said Solomon, adding, but it's probably just a coincidence. I don't think so. It was probably just a street criminal searching for passcodes, he expounded. Or it could be someone searching for my Ukraine stuff. We don't know at this point. So it goes on to say Solomon targeted by Democrats. As Sperry notes, Solomon's private phone number was published by House Intel Chair Adam Pencilneck Schiff, I can't stand that guy, in December, while citing the journalist at least 35 times in his impeachment report over Solomon's involvement in reporting Ukraine Gate from the perspective of the prosecutor who former Vice President Joe Biden had fired while he was investigating Ukraine energy giant Burisma, whose board Hunter Biden sat on. I'm the only reporter who ends up having his records released, Solomon told Fox Business News recently. It makes me wonder whether it's a political payback, because a few months ago I wrote a story exposing the fact that Chairman Schiff had me and Glenn Simpson at the sidelines of the Aspen Institute at a time when he shouldn't have been having contact with Glenn Simpson, he added. It feels like a political payback. I definitely... This dude said maybe it's a coincidence. What do you think, Paul? I think... So you steal the laptop from the guy's car, right? And then you take it to a place that just so happens to have... it's a dark spot. So they knew exactly where to take, where the cameras wouldn't film them going through his crap. It doesn't sound coincidental to me, by any means.
This is 100% political spying.
Freaky alien lemonade.
They just it's what they do behind the scenes.
It's more just thank you for the lemon, manly chest. I'm a little behind on thanking you guys for those over here because I'm in YouTube, monitoring YouTube. Paul's monitoring DLive, so yes, YouTube, you'll see some very awkward names pop up on there. So, like manly chest. But yes, I think it's just espionage. People don't want the truth to come out about what was really going on with the Ukraine thing, and how would they know that that was a dark spot where the cameras didn't work? you know. So I posted, and I didn't talk about this, but I have posted. Yeah, see, Manly Chest says no coincidence. I posted that a Raytheon engineer went and left the country. I think we talked about it on our stream in D Live yesterday. He left the country with his laptop, his government-issued laptop, and he took it over to China, where they said that he wasn't allowed to do those types of things. We talked about it yesterday. So it seems like there's a lot of espionage, a lot of trade secrets going on, different things like that are happening right now. So this article just adds, fuel to the flame. It says ex-CIA engineer goes on trial for massive leak, which is probably not intentional either. It says a former software engineer for the Central Intelligence Agency is set to go on trial Monday in Manhattan federal court on charges that he leaked a trove of classified information about the CIA's hacking operations to WikiLeaks, leading to one of the largest breaches in the agency's history. In 2017, WikiLeaks released more than 8,000 pages of secret materials, which the secrecy organization called Vault 7, detailing the CIA's cyber espionage arsenal, including the agency's playbook for hacking smartphones, computer operating systems, messaging applications, and internet-connected televisions. Federal prosecutors say that the defendant, Joshua Schultz, stole the document when he worked for the CIA unit that designed the hacking tools. Mr. Schultz, who's 31 years old, faces 11 criminal counts, including illegal gathering and transmission of national defense information, who charges that derive from the Espionage Act, a statute that has been applied in other WikiLeaks cases. Some of the charges relate to Mr. Schultz's alleged misconduct and obstruction following his 2017 arrest, and prosecutors say he lied to law enforcement and disobeyed court orders. Mr. Schultz and his lawyers have called the espionage charges vague and overreaching, saying they infringed on his constitutional free speech rights. They have alleged fatal errors in the government's case, objected to the secrecy shrouding the investigation, and protested Mr. Schultz's isolated confinement in a Manhattan jail. Sabrina Shroff, a court-appointed lawyer for Mr. Schultz, declined to comment. Well, court-appointed, not doing very good. You never get one of those. I'm just giving you guys a heads up. The Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office didn't respond to a request for comment in court filings. Prosecutors have accused Mr. Schultz of a wanton disregard for the rules governing classified information and said the leaks impact the CIA's intelligence gathering activities and the national security of the United States was catastrophic. Mr. Schultz's trial presents a host of thorny legal questions reflecting the case roots in the U.S. national security apparatus. Bringing leak cases to court is, quote, a tricky thing for the intelligence community, said Larry Pfeiffer, a former CIA chief of staff. He also said, quote, the intel community has to be willing to expose a certain amount of secrecy in order to convict. He had seen espionage cases fall apart because the court requires security agencies to provide more information than they want to disclose. It's bad enough to have the material already exposed, Mr. Pfeiffer said. The last thing the government wants to do is provide greater amount of detail or potentially expose different materials. I'm not going to read the entirety of this stuff, but I think Assange wasn't necessarily found guilty for what he did, but it's just another way to suppress the information, I think. And without these guys leaking the information, how would we know in the first place?
No, Assange hasn't had a case yet.
I thought they
He's
dropped
just
his
been
charges.
held indefinitely without any trials, which is against the law in pretty much every country he's associated with or been in.
Yeah, I know they said that his health was at risk and that somebody needed to step in and do something so he could see a doctor. But I think the last place they took him, he looked all right. He didn't look like he was that jacked up. I can't play, because I'm on freaking YouTube, I can't play this video, this thieving cop on here stealing from somebody's home, so I can't play the video for you guys. We'll post we've already posted the links in Discord if you guys are part of D Live. And if you're on YouTube, you can go to the D Live or go to the About section, and you can also join D Live over there as well. But I can't play the video because I'll get a copyright strike from awesome YouTube because, that's who they are. Video clearly catches cops stealing cash from a home, and he's not arrested because, why would he be? A 15-year-old veteran Special Forces cop with the Bremerton Police Department was allowed to quietly resign this week amid allegations that he stole money during a drug raid in 2019. Despite clear video evidence of this cop committing a crime while on duty, Detective Jeffrey Inkelbarger was not arrested and allowed to resign from the department before he was fired. Oh. According to the report, Inkelbarger, I guess that's his name, was part of a team serving a search warrant over a drug operation allegations at a home in February 2019. And as his hero cop kept society, quote, safe from people voluntarily exchanging and ingesting substances, he was robbing them. His blatant theft was captured on multiple hidden cameras inside the home. After watching the cop rob him, the homeowner brought the video to the attention of the Bremerton police officials last month through his attorney, and an investigation was opened according to the incident report. After viewing the video, the Bremerton Police Department took immediate action, and Detective Inkelbarger was placed on administrative leave. The Bremerton Police Department had no direct involvement in the criminal investigation. Detective Inkelbarger was interviewed by Tacoma police detectives on Friday, January 17, 2020, and Tacoma police investigators provided a preliminary briefing of Chief Burchett immediately following the interview. Detective Inkelbarger was served with a notice of intended termination, and Mr. Inkelbarger resigned in lieu of the termination on January 25, 2020. After the incident, police themselves actually released the video to show of transparency, but they've yet to file any charges against this criminal cop. They've only released a statement claiming that this top cop stealing money on the video doesn't reflect the behavior of the rest of the department. Hey, what's up, Randy? We met Randy last night. We value the trust that the community has in the Bremerton Police Department, and will continue to work every day to earn and maintain that trust, said Chief James Burchett. Once we were made aware of the possible theft, we acted immediately. This was a betrayal of the oath of office and the law enforcement profession. Mr. Inkelbarger's actions do not reflect the values of the Bremerton Police Department, nor are they representative of the ethical, hardworking men and women of the department. The incident that occurred on the video does not represent the principles or practices of the city of Bremerton or our police department, said Mayor Greg Wheeler. The Bremerton police have a reputation of being respectful, courteous, professional, and are focused on maintaining the trust and confidence of the public. I am thoroughly behind our chief and police department and the values they uphold to serve our community at the highest level. If they want to maintain the trust of the public, however, they need to hold this cop accountable. Quietly allowing him to resign before being fired is not holding him accountable at all. Had an average citizen been caught robbing someone's home on video, rest assured they would have been arrested immediately. But because Inkelbarger was part of the system when he committed these crimes, he gets a pass. The good news is that the police are now investigating this cop's past cases to see if other people have been robbed during drug raids carried out by this thief, according to the statement. So you guys can, like I said, go check this out. I can't play the video because I've watched the video, but I can't play the video because YouTube gave me a copyright strike because they're so wonderful. Just love YouTube. But I think if you are a police officer and you beat people, steal from people, shoot people, Mr. Maryland police officer who shot a guy, accused him for being on PCP, put him in the front seat of his vehicle, shot him multiple times and killed him, and then was later on arrested for second-degree murder. If you do those things, you deserve to be locked up in general population with the guys that actually hate police officers, and see how far you get in there. That's what I believe. Because my grandfather was a police officer. He was a lieutenant in the police department in McAllen, Texas. You make all the other police officers look bad. Very bad. Thank you for the follow. I didn't catch your name. Paul probably caught it.
Scorpio 1488.
All right. Thank you for the follow. So, guys, that is my point of view. What do you think about that, Paul? I'm sure you agree with that, too.
Yeah, it's why we basically came up with the sign of the times. It's not. You used to hear one of these weird stories every now and then. There's 20 of them, 30 of them. maybe daily.
It's getting out of control. With all these cops who just think they can do whatever they want to. And like I said, man, the law is for everybody or it's for nobody, right? So you're not going to be able to go out and hold people accountable to the law, and then you turn right back around and break the same laws. That is like a totalitarian type of ideology. That means that, you know, the cops are above the law and everyone else is the peasants. You guys obey the laws or we're going to lock you up and we're going to go out and commit crimes. That is ridiculous. So, yes, there needs to be an accountability. So, speaking of cops invading your rights, Oklahoma, and I threw this huge fit because I'm in Oklahoma. They've just recently said that police departments have access, backdoor access to your Ring doorbells. We've covered this multiple times. Other guys have covered this multiple times. Okay. Ring is owned by Amazon now. Amazon has acquired it. I'm going to give you a word of advice. If you own Ring doorbell, thank you for the follow, Z Square. If you own a Ring doorbell, go grab your Louisville Slugger right now. Walk out to the front of your house and smash it repeatedly and get that thing from hanging on your house, because now the cops can watch you just coming and going from your house. And they got backdoor access. There's contracts that they have. There's also multiple lawsuits, civil rights violations lawsuits, or civil rights and I guess and marketing flu. There's civil rights violations and there's constitutional rights violations for violating your Fourth Amendment right, illegal search and seizures. People are filing everywhere because of this backdoor access to the Ring doorbells. So this guy, I believe he thinks he has an idea of how to stop this, but I think once they've overreached to a certain point, they're gonna run with it. Wouldn't you say, Paul? They're pretty much they're like, oh, we have access to their Ring doorbells, and we'll just watch it and tell them we don't watch it.
That's why my firm belief is don't give anybody an inch. They'll take a mile.
Exactly. They will. That's exactly true. So the article says, and like I said, this might be this guy's idea of how to stop the police from asking for videos of your Amazon. And also, according to the statistics, if the police departments do have backdoor access to the Ring doorbells, crime is not going down in those areas. It's not helping to prevent crime in the area where they have access to this. If anything, I read an article where a police officer, who was a woman, was watching people's Ring doorbells, and when they would leave, for instance, one to a funeral because someone very close to these people had passed away and they'd gone to the funeral. She was watching through the Ring doorbell apps called Neighbors. She watched them leave. She would break in people's houses and she would rob them while they were gone using the Neighbors app that is attached to the Ring doorbell. So if you guys think it's a good idea to have that trash, take it, like I said, take a Louisville Slugger and just walk outside and smash it to crap. It's not helping you anymore. And aside from that fact, all the pervs that are talking to those little girls in their rooms and stuff. So this article, we'll read this because I don't necessarily think says Amazon's Ring app now lets you stop receiving notifications from police departments requesting video. You can turn it off if you don't like the idea that Ring doorbells can use your surveillance, and even when the feature is turned on, you still need to confirm the request from a police department before they get the video. So, you can now stop police departments from sending notifications asking for video from your Ring doorbell. And by the way, if you don't know this, you can also, if you don't have Ring doorbell, you can download the Neighbors app and you can watch other people's videos. I didn't know if you guys knew that, but yeah, you can also access that. So say a neighbor's doorbell trips or camera trips on their property. It'll send a signal to your phone and then you can see what's going on. They use it around the area I'm at. I don't have it anymore. So there's been a controversy over Ring's decision to work closely with police departments to help investigate crimes. Some customers like they're able to share videos from their doorbells with police departments in an effort to help catch criminals. Others see it as a creation of a surveillance state, which is what I see it as. In a recent update to the Ring app, Amazon now lets customers opt out of receiving notifications from police departments who might be seeking Ring doorbell video footage to help solve a crime that happened near your home. You might want to turn this off if you're among a group of people who don't like police, who don't think police should have access to the video camera feeds. But even if the feature is turned on, you still need to confirm that you're willing to share video with the police department before they can review footage from your camera unless you post it publicly in the Ring Neighbors app. Here's how you turn it off. Make sure you have the latest Ring app, either the iTunes Store app or Google Play. Open the Ring app so you guys can go through all this stuff. So that's it. Now you won't receive notifications. So this is linked in the Discord. It's also if you're on YouTube. It's also in YouTube, so you can go to the YouTube. In the description of the video, all these links are in there. So you can either opt out of turning it off, or you could take my advice, take a baseball bat, whatever, crowbar, whatever you want to do. Just walk outside of your house. It'll be for one, you can take, you can alleviate some stress or whatever, and just smash it. Just smash it, because here pretty soon they're gonna cram us all into coffin cities, and artificial intelligence is going to be lording over us from afar via face scans, quantum computing, and robots at every entrance, watching everything you do. So this article, Paul and I discussed this. So Paul and I discussed this, and we kind of think this is a good idea. This can be a good idea, right? So I guess the feds are getting into school security business, so they want to hide them kind of like air marshals inside schools. Which, Paul's made the comment before that said, going to the school at some places, it's like they're locked in a prison because they have the cameras outside, they're buzzing people in and out. So I agree with that aspect, but this might alleviate some of that stress and just having a guy ready to, hurt an intruder or whatever. So let's read this and see. Let's see how it's written first. Let's see if they're trying to make this sound like this is a bad idea, the feds want access to your school, or if it's a good idea. Because blacklisted news is probably going to make it sound like it's a bad idea, which is where this article's from. By the way, I'm reading articles. These aren't necessarily my opinions or Paul's opinions. We'll share our opinions about the articles. So the U.S. Secret Service and the U.S. Marshal Service has been expanding into America's school system at an alarming rate. The Secret Service is training school administrators and teachers to identify violent students in numerous states like Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Louisiana, and Kansas. As the Secret Service report Protecting America's Schools mentions, there is no profile that the school administrators and teachers can use to identify a student attacker. Attackers vary in age, gender, race, grade level, academic performance, and social characteristics. Similarly, one of those tongue twister words, it's hard for me to say. There was no identified no identified profile of the type of school impact by targeted violence. To help schools identify future school attackers, states like Florida, South Dakota, and Texas have begun putting undercover marshals in all their school districts. The Herald Tribune revealed that, quote, marshals will be embedded in every school campus. The article also revealed who is behind the push to put armed marshals in America's school systems, saying, in quotes, the marshal will be deployed at each school by the Sarasota County Schools Director of Safety, Security, and Emergency Management, or Sarasota County Schools, and they would each carry a firearm. A look at the State Homeland Security Emergency Services website reveals directors of safety, security, and emergency management jobs are actually Homeland Security positions. This disturbing revelation means Homeland Security is slowly turning our schools into mirror images of our prison system. See, this is what I was thinking, Paul. They were going to twist it like this. This is exactly what I was saying. They're about to twist this and make it sound. But we've had this discussion on DLI before. That school does one of two things: prepares you for the prison system, or it prepares you to work within the beast system. So, but I knew that this was where this was going. Went south real quick.
Surveillance state out of control.
Okay, so if it's a person, do you remember the article we read, Paul, on they were putting artificial intelligence? There's a company that works with school districts, and they put artificial intelligence face scan cameras inside schools, where they're gathering your child's face scans and putting those into a database. That I think is overstepping a little bit further than having an actual person there to do something. Because the research behind the artificial intelligence face scans, they were saying that none of the cameras or the face scans were even beneficial in preventing a school shooting. They were saying that it's basically a waste of money.
Yeah. Waste of everyone's money to do something for special people that are not special people, but special interest groups to make more profits.
Yeah. I think it would be more conducive for an actual warm body, a human being, to be there to protect the school district than a bunch of artificial intelligence to deter somebody from doing it, you know?
Just please make sure they have been double and triple checked for, kid crimes.
Yes. We don't want any pedophilias running around there. By the way, I read this. I skimmed through this article. There's a governor somewhere in some state that's trying to get that alleviated, where pedophiles can't go dress up in drag and read story time to kids at the local libraries. He's trying to get that outlawed. By the way, I saw a meme today too that said, so you guys remember that "It's ma'am" that guy? You remember that guy? That big old husky dude at the game store? Like, "It's ma'am." It said, I heard that this new coronavirus attacks men more than it does women, and it has that guy from the game store standing there, and it says, "It's ma'am" underneath it, like he's pretending to be a woman so it won't attack him. It was pretty funny. I should have pulled it up. So it goes on to say, sorry, Paul, what?
I'll just thank God I haven't run into any of that yet. Like someone trying to say, "Oh, well, I'm a guy or girl or whatever." We had this weird thing happen a week ago where a guy had really super long red hair, and my daughter said, "What's that boy doing over? Or what's that girl doing over there?" I was like, "It's not a girl." And the guy heard us, and he must have been like 20. He goes, "But she's got long hair," and I was like, "Yeah, he's got long hair." And I was just like a little bit embarrassed, but what do you do? She's less than 5 years old, so.
Do you remember the old Bud Light commercials where the guys like knelt down getting a case of beer out of the bottom of the shelf, and the guy walks up behind them and he says, "Excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am." And the guy turns around, he's got like a beard and long hair. And he turns around, he's like, just looks at him, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." That's a pretty good one.
Wrong one. Oops.
I'm catching up. Adam Augustine with that. Hey, Chuck Band, marketing flu. China protest lockdown. Yeah, they're arresting people. I read something that said people were being arrested for spreading lies about the WV is what we're calling it, because YouTube is censoring videos. So the article goes on to say a traditional school district or charter school can opt into the program to appoint school marshal, and that staff member could be a principal, coach, teacher, or other individual, and must be 80 hours of training, include how to respond to an active shooter. The identity of the marshal is kept secret unless there is an emergency on campus. Here in Oklahoma, not where I'm at here in Oklahoma, but if you go further south in Oklahoma, the teachers actually carry firearms. I'm just going to throw that out there. Teachers in our state carry the firearms. They don't care. In Ohio, State Bill 147 would create a statewide school marshal program that would, quote, let any tactical medical professional become a school marshal under Section 5502.70 of the revised code. This bill would also create a chief school marshal along with regional school marshals of every school in the state. They include city, vocational, community, STEM, college, preparatory, career technical, chartered preschools. You go into a preschool trying to do something like that, you've got to be a sick individual. Page 12 of the bill, under the heading section 5502.70, revealed that even colleges will have marshals. There's hereby created in the Department of Public Safety the Ohio School Marshals Program, which shall be administered by a chief school marshal. The program shall provide services to public and non-public schools and institutions of higher education regarding school and campus safety and security. Ohio school marshals are also required to conduct quarterly emergency management tests, school shooter drills, and school marshals are in charge of criminal justice networks. One of the most disturbing parts of the bill revealed that school marshals will also be in charge of criminal justice networks. And it says in a quote here, the department, school marshals, shall administer, maintain, and operate the Ohio Criminal Justice Network. The Ohio Criminal Justice Network shall be a computer network that supports state and local criminal justice activities. The network shall be an electronic repository for various data, which may include arrest warrants, notices of persons wanted by law enforcement agencies, criminal records, prison inmate records, stolen vehicle records, vehicle operator's license, and vehicle registration and titles. Jesus Lord, why do they need all that information? Putting school marshals in charge of criminal justice networks will only expand the never-ending war on terror and will put more people on the terrorist watch list. Marshals could also use the network to take guns away from the innocent people using red flag laws. Except for if you're in Oklahoma, we're taking that one back. If you still have doubts about Homeland Security's role in putting school marshals in America's schools, I leave you with this tidbit of information. The department shall coordinate all Homeland Security activities of all state agencies and shall be a liaison between the state agencies and local entities for those activities and related purposes. Like death by 1,000 cuts. What's up?
It's quite a jump for them to say that they would automatically put more people on red flag laws. Like, who are they going to put on those laws? The kids that they're supposed to be protecting? I mean, I just don't see that as as possible in this.
Yeah, because they're saying, well, and you know how it is. Anyone that says they don't agree with your ideology, they can say that person threatened me, even if you didn't threaten that person. And then they can say, well, let's go take his guns under these red flag laws, because they make up the, the foundation for those laws, right? So they can say whatever they want to take your firearms. Red flag law just defines, it gives it like the perimeters in which they can go take the guns. They can say whatever the hell they want to really take the guns. But yeah, you're definitely right. This kid could just be having a horrible day, right? And then they say, well, his parents probably own some firearms and we're afraid of the kid, so let's go to the dad's house and take his firearms. So like death by 1,000 cuts, Americans have watched their freedoms slowly be taken away from them. Putting Secret Service agents in schools, marshals in every school across America will only help destroy what little rights students have left. I don't really know if you have any rights as students per se. Oh, you guys are going to love this article. You're going to absolutely love this article. This says, report $90 billion in U.S. taxpayer money. So this is our money. Donated a global slush fund to fight AIDS, but a portion of those funds made it to the Clintons, Soros, and others instead. Like they don't steal enough money from everybody else. An investigative, I think Paul got disconnected. An investigative report revealed that $90 billion in U.S. taxpayer money has been funneled to overseas organizations in the name of helping those with HIV and AIDS. In reality, the funds were distributed to organizations including the Clinton Health Access Initiative and George Soros Open Health Institute. So, Corey Dix put together a report that shows that efforts that can combat HIV/AIDS may just be fronts for money laundering schemes ran by the Clintons and George Soros. The story begins in August 2000, a few months before Bill Clinton's second term ends. on August 19, 2000. Bill Clinton signed a bill establishing the Global Fund to fight AIDS, intending to locate it inside the World Bank in Switzerland. The Washington Post reported Bill Clinton, who traveled to Nigeria and Tanzania, is directing Treasury Secretary Lawrence H. Summers to begin negotiations with the World Bank to set up the first trust fund. In her efforts to unfold the truth, Diggs uncovered that money sent from the U.S. to help fight AIDS actually ends up in the hands of the likes of George Soros. In 2003, the Global Fund issued, with funds from the U.S. and others, its first grant to an Open Health Institute, or OHI, an Open Society Foundation affiliate George Soros operating in the Russian Federation, to the tune of $88 million. Yes, Russia grants continued through 2018, but this wasn't the only involvement George Soros had with the Global Fund. More on this in subsequent chapters. The Anti-AIDS Foundation was founded by Elena Franchuk, the husband Viktor Pinchuk in the Ukraine, who went on to work with the Clinton Health Access Initiative in 2004. Of course, the Pinchuks also partnered with Coca-Cola, George Soros, Kofi Annan, Elton John, and others. Viktor Pinchuk was also a big donor to the Clinton Foundation. In 2002, the Clintons inserted themselves into the global initiative with AIDS. Enter Bill and Hillary Clinton, who had nicely set this into motion back in 2000, just before Bill's exit from the White House, and with the Clinton Foundation already established, why not create an illegal offshoot called the Clinton Health Access Initiative and say it's part of the foundation? Despite the fact it's totally illegal to claim another nonprofit within a nonprofit without filing separate tax returns or registering it as a separate entity. But hey, this is par for the course for the Clintons. In fact, they went on with this charade for 7 whole years from 2002 to 2009. When they finally decided to separate it out of its own entity and began listing their donors, the donor list is quite an eye-opener and very extensive to say the least, including such donors as UnitAid, the Clinton Foundation, the CDC, and the CDC Foundation, WHO, the Global Fund, the World Bank, governments, universities, and hundreds more. Surely there was a pay-to-play action taking place in that upstanding organization. Hold on just a second, let me get Paul back to me. All right, Diggs uncovered a 2011 email by Cheryl Mills to Hillary Clinton, where Mills provides talking points for Hillary when discussing and Ellen DeGeneres her promoting Hillary's HIV/AIDS speech. So it goes on to say, I spoke with Ellen DeGeneres manager David McGuire today about Ellen serving as a special envoy for global HIV/AIDS awareness. OGAC is developing a concept paper for consideration. But David agreed that there will be some sort of arrangement for Ellen to promote both your speech and the World AIDS Day through social media, or perhaps you phoning into her show at some point. In conclusion, Diggs reports the following. In short, U.S. taxpayers are forced to give their hard-earned money to the government, who has funneled $90 billion of it into NGOs with substantial amount to the Global Fund. Meanwhile, Big Pharma is lining the pockets of politicians. The Global Fund is in charge of distributing the funds to numerous organizations and NGOs, many of which are located in the U.S., as well as health ministries throughout developing countries. And yes, Clinton Health Access Initiative is one of the recipients, in addition to George Soros, Open Health Institute, among many other familiar faces. Yet the drugs repeatedly have issues with making it to the alleged victims of HIV. Some have been watered down, millions in the funds have mysteriously vanished, and the founding board member and chairman of the Global Fund did a 2-year stint in prison for securities fraud. Simultaneously, U.S. patients who are suffering from HIV cannot afford the $39,000 a year treatment that is only costing $75 a year for nearly the same treatment in developing countries. This is how your hard-earned money is being spent, all $90 billion worth. How many billions left the U.S. landed in the pockets of individuals like the Clinton, Soros, and others? So, if you guys already didn't think that, the Clintons and George Soros were, saints, this article will make you love them even more. Because, why wouldn't it? They're such wonderful people. Yeah, I've talked about Neuralink on here before. I'm still a small channel, but started talking about Neuralink. I can do something in particular on Neuralink. I did it in comparison to Mark Zuckerberg wanting to do like the wrist attachment form of it, and then Elon Musk wanting to do the actual nodes in the brain part. I talked a little bit about both of them, I believe, in the same video. This article says Congress votes to finally end 2002 war authorization in an attempt to stop conflict in Iraq. So it says the U.S. House of Representatives voted last week to finally end a war authorization from 2002 in an attempt to rein President Donald Trump and his tensions with Iran increased. Congress has a responsibility to do their job and follow the Constitution and debate and vote on the use of the force in matters of war and peace, said Representative Barbara Lee, a Democrat from California, who added that this law allows war without end, and the country can't tolerate that. They need to hold this president in check. Has never been higher, said Representative Ro Khanna, I guess, from California. The worst thing we could do is let this president off the hook. So here, I'm going to say this. I don't understand why all these wars have been going on before this president was elected, but yet all of a sudden these people want to jump the current president's ass for the wars that are happening right now. And just because they escalate under his administration doesn't necessarily mean he's responsible for the escalation or the prior anger that is built up from the prior administrations. So he's having to deal with all those past administrations starting crap, and then he gets the brunt of all the blame for all of it. So I will say that. I don't think that that's right. You can't just say, oh, he's president, let's blame him.
I've got a different viewpoint on that one. I do understand what you're saying, but my point of view is that, yeah, he must have been left with certain things, but it's almost like he's been putting the last period, exclamation point, question mark, all on those things that have already transpired. And because he's doing that, everyone like in the media is like points it out and says, oh, look what he's done. Well, he's finished. So he's putting the last stages of it all on. And so, yeah, it looks like he's actually doing something, because sometimes other things, other people haven't got things done. So because it's like if you had a bad apple next to 4 good apples, sometimes those other 4 good apples become rotten. But because you have a shiny apple next to a rotten apple, it just doesn't make it makes the shiny apple stand out more, for one. And then 2, it also, sometimes there's conflict between the shiny apple and the rotten apple, because the rotten apple feels jealous. And then he wants to degrade the shiny apple to a certain point. That's my life experience, and that's what I see with the media, and they're putting this little spin on it towards Trump.
I mean, I agree with that too, but I just don't like how if there's pre-existing conditions and he has to deal with those, how can they automatically say it's all his fault? You know what I mean? That's one thing I'm just like, yeah. Why don't you're part of the Democratic Party. Why didn't you do this crap whenever Obama went from, bombing 4 countries to 7 countries and then, killing Gaddafi and all that type of crap? Why didn't you step up and say anything whenever that crap was going on? No, you just want to wait till there's a Republican president in office who's having to fix all these F-ups from all these other prior administrations, and then you don't like the way he's fixing it, so they jump on it and, kind of give him grief about it.
Yeah. I just was like, well, you can see this. in a psychological aspect of it is the way I was looking at it, kind of, like just more human psychology in general. And if you study it or look at it and use your life experience to determine where that lies, then you can figure out a lot of things and way things work. But I'll have to be right back.
Okay. So the article goes on to say the Democrats are trying to rebuke President Trump for his legislation. For this legislation would end power that was used by his previous two predecessors to justify war in the Middle East as well. It would amount to significant checks against endless wars that have grown unpopular with the American public, which is why it attracted some Republican support in Congress as well. House Freedom Caucus members Andy Biggs, a Republican from Arizona, and Ken Buck, Republican from Colorado, penned an op-ed urging for their colleagues to support the measure and restore war-making authority to its constitutional bounds. This airstrike was fully justified by Article 2 of the Constitution, which grants the President, in his role as Commander-in-Chief, the authority to respond to imminent threats, Buck and Biggs wrote, defending President Trump's controversial assassination of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani via drone strike at the Baghdad airport last month. Additionally, the President's action can be justified by an authorization for the use of military force granted by the Congress in 2002, but Congress must now revisit and reform this new 20-year-old AUMF, as well as a second anti-terrorism AUMF dating to 2001 they added. They argue for new improved AUMF that doesn't give the President an open-ended mandate to conduct war in the Middle East at his own discretion without any input from Congress. In the coming weeks, we will be spearheading this effort by introducing a more clear defined AUMF that includes mechanisms to combat terrorism, a guarantee that Israel will be defended, in a limited time horizon to ensure continual congressional oversight, the House Freedom Caucus members wrote. Trump wants to move away from the tired foreign policy paradigms of the past, and we intended to help him achieve this aim, they added. Unfortunately for the bipartisan opponents of endless war, President Trump has threatened to veto the measure if it passes the Senate, which, he can do. So, what are you guys' thoughts on that? Also, by the way, like I said at the beginning of this, if you want to call in, the number scrolling across the bottom of the screen, 1408-638-0968, 534-233-4758. Hit the pound sign twice. For you kids out there, that's the hashtag. And Paul will screen those phone calls for you. That is Paul Revere, the other voice you hear. You're just joining. This is one Paul caught, actually. And I cover a lot of Turkey, and I skipped over this. This article says Erdogan calls situation in Syria, Idlib, unimaginable, and says 1 million refugees approach Turkish border. So, I'm going to go down here because usually when I translate certain ones like this, it's not down here. All right, it comes down here. So it says previously, the Turkish president slammed the Syrian military for attacking Turkish troops at a Syrian Idlib province, cautioning that Ankara would not leave such acts unanswered. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has characterized the current developments in Syria's Idlib province as unimaginable. He added that around 1 million refugees from the province are currently headed towards the Turkish border with the Arab Republic. So I don't know what all this is. Just going to leave that there. Anyways, I've said this in the past, and I've said this probably for 10 years. I continue to say, so in I think 2021, I think Turkey will be the leader of the UN military. But I've thought for a very long time Turkey would be one of the militaries that are the catalyst to go to an all-out war with everybody. He's kind of just a wild card and does his own thing. This article says mystery deepens over 42 oddly buried skeletons found on UK farm. So it says excavation for the construction of a retirement community in the rural UK recently unearthed 42 skeletons in shallow graves that had their hands tied behind their backs. But how the bodies ended up there and who they might represent remain unknown. Contract archaeologists working with the builders have yet to provide local officials with a report about remains, and country residents are calling for answers, local news site Milton Keynes MK Citizen reported on January 28th. The remains were discovered in December on West End Farm in Buckingham, England, after developer Brio Retirement Living Holding broke ground for a 72 new apartment for retirees, according to the MK Citizen. The shallowness of the graves and the fact that the skeletons' hands were bound suggests, quote, they were prisoners of some kind, said District and Town Councillor Robin Stuckbury. They could date from Anglo-Saxon times when there were killings in Buckingham, or during the Civil War, which also saw casualties, Stuckbury told MK Citizen. Or they could be criminals who were hanged on the gallows in the town. Representatives of the Bucks County Council Archaeological Service said they were aware of the find and that they've yet to receive further information about the discovery of the skeletons. We are unable to comment on the archaeological remains discovered in the West End farm site at present, as we still are awaiting a report detailing the result from the archaeological contractors, a spokesperson told MK Citizen. Analysis of the excavation would include descriptions of any artifacts found in the graves, as well as the skeletons' genders, ages, and details of how they died. All of this would help determine who the people were and how they ended up buried together in these farmland mass graves. But it could be months before BCAS receives such a report. This find is of great historical significance to the Buckingham, and it should not be hushed up, Stuckbury added. And as always, if you guys want any links to these, you can join the Discord. That link is in the YouTube also. You can join my Discord and you guys can hang out in there. I post all the articles on there. If you're on YouTube, all these articles are posted in the description below. So now we're going to get to YouTube, and talking about YouTube will probably get me banned from YouTube, so we're going to do it anyways because YouTube sucks. Excuse me. YouTube will police political videos more closely, meaning if you don't agree with their ideology that has to do with extreme leftist liberalism or democratic socialism or any of those things, if you are center, if you are just a little off to the right, if you are any of those things and it doesn't agree with... Thank you for the ice cream, PA. If you don't agree with the ideology, what YouTube, glorious YouTube, is going to start doing is suppressing your freedom of speech by supporting any political videos or anyone that you want to win congressionally, in the Senate in your state, anything, probably anything that has to do with anything like that. Anything pro-Trump, like you can't even say that name on YouTube, or they start booting you off for everything. So I'm going to read the article, but YouTube's a bunch of Nazis. As the 2016 election begins in earnest with Monday's Iowa caucus, YouTube is cracking down on election-related disinformation in an attempt to protect users. Google's video sharing site has long had policies barring deceptive practices and engagement manipulation, but in a blog post on Monday, the company specified that the rules would also apply to a number of popular political conspiracy theories that have plagued the platform for much of the past decade. So-called birther videos that argue a candidate cannot be eligible to hold office based on false information about citizenship status requirements to hold office in that country will no longer be permitted. YouTube noted, in a clear nod to the outsized role the platform played in advancing conspiracy theories about former President Barack Obama's citizenship status in 2008 and in 2012. Prominent proponents included Donald Trump, they're just going to have to throw that in there too, who made headlines in 2002 with a YouTube video calling for Obama to release additional records to verify his citizenship. YouTube said it would also bar videos that have been manipulated or doctored to deceive users, including content that has, quote, been technically manipulated to make it appear that a government official is dead. That rule would have removed videos supporting conspiracy theories, such as the one that took root last year suggesting Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg was secretly dead. Okay, I'm going to put this out there because I was watching that channel when they popped that up on their station. That happened on their network. That was not a manipulated conspiracy theory. I was watching. Hang on a second. I was watching whenever. I have to cut all that dinging and in and out of the podcast. I was watching whatever network played that. I watched it. They accidentally put Ruth Bader Ginsburg's birth and death date on public television. That wasn't a conspiracy. They accidentally did it as a major network. So no one conspired to do that or technically altered any video. It was a mistake made by that media organization. So it says it's a sign that YouTube is doubling down on its comparatively aggressive stance on political misinformation at a time when its social media bedfellows have attracted criticism of for their hesitance to do the same. Last May, when misleading doctored video of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi began making the rounds on social media, YouTube notably was the first major platform to take it down, while Facebook contentiously chose to leave it up. The two sites also diverge on their approach to lies by political figures. Facebook has said it will not remove ads by politicians, even when they contain untruths. YouTube doesn't permit politicians to blatantly lie in ads, though it does allow for occasional, quote, political hyperbole, so long as it doesn't significantly undermine trust in democracy, the company noted in December. Both companies say they will prohibit content that spreads misinformation about the upcoming census for voting processes. YouTube took a page from Twitter, which banned political ads outright last October, when it announced in December that it would no longer allow campaigns to micro-target voters with political ads. Despite calls from critics, Facebook has yet to do the same. So, if you are on YouTube, you cannot say that you have to be born of this country. Look, I'm going to tell you, saying that is not true, because if you wanted to say that, then you could just say Ted Cruz can't be, a congressman or a senator in Texas, because he is, I believe he was born in Canada, right, Paul? He's lives in Texas, but I don't think he was born in Texas. So, to state that, it's not factual. I can see why they would block that, but as far as them posting whatever they want to, or allowing people to post whatever they want to, as long as it aligns with the ideology, I think that's a crock of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, systematically wiping people off of Facebook, I'm not using it, but I have others that have been recently with this whole new purge.
Yeah.
Just because they don't like what you say or your different views or what you believe in. I just want to call it fake news or fake information, which is all BS.
I'm going to assume FTTSTV is my buddy that's PMing me stuff over here in the Facebook Messenger. Because we're talking about, it's just coincidental. I'm not going to say his name out publicly on here, but it's coincidental. We're talking about Neuralink over here, and he's privately messaging me on Facebook over here. The same thing, so I'm just putting two and two together. But yes, Ted Cruz I think was a Canadian. He lives in Texas. He's a senator. So you can't say, well, look, if you're going to run for president, you have to meet certain requirements, right, Paul? You have to be a citizen. You have to be born in the country. You have to meet certain requirements. If you were going to be like, what is that terrorist that has ties to, what's her name? Omar, whatever her name is. That little terrorist over there who has ties to some terrorist organization over there in the Middle East. Anyways, you can be like her.
She's a winner.
Yeah, you can marry your brother like her, and come. We're probably gonna take the video down because I'm alleging things right now. But anyways, you can marry your brother like her, which that's not an allegation. It actually came out that was a fact and it really did happen. And then you can come to this country. And then once you're in this country, you can run for a position within Congress or the Senate or any of those things. But in order to be a president in this country, yes, you have to be born here. You have to meet certain requirements. I think you have to be over the age of 30, born resident of the country, all those things. if you're going to run for Congress or Senate, I do believe you have to. I do believe you have to have a certain amount of years in the country before you can be established like that. So yeah, Ilhan Omar, that's her name. She's a terrorist, domestic wife. RFT,
Yeah,
PS TV.
they'll probably have to revise all those laws, immigration laws, shortly. They're just not quite modern enough, I don't think.
No, I think they're gonna have to do something too. So this article is funny. So this will lighten up the mood a little bit before we get to our 2 articles on murder that have to do with the poor fellows over in Mexico are trying to save the monarch butterflies. Who would kill such people? So this article says a guy wheeled around 99 phones in a cart to create traffic jams on Google Maps, which I think is funny. And like Paul said, you could just hire this guy and he'd go create a traffic jam with his cell phones over there and no one will park on your street. So it says technology is not always foolproof, and that's exactly what a new Google Maps experiment tried to prove. Artist Simon Weckert has posted a video on YouTube showing how he managed to, quote, hack Google Maps to create virtual traffic jams on the streets of Berlin. For his experiment, Weckert loaded 99 smartphones running Google Maps into a cart. He then had someone wheel the cart around various streets in Berlin, including outside the Google office. The phones apparently fooled Google Maps into thinking that there was a high concentration of users on those streets. Because the phones were in the cart, Maps was further tricked into believing that the traffic was slow moving. As a result, the navigation app started to showing virtual traffic jams by turning green streets to red, and you can watch the video below to see the trick in action. But you can't play because there's YouTube will ban me for someone else's content. Awesome, folks over at YouTube. This is probably why it's not showing everyone that subs to my channels. It says, well, Google Maps use data generated by users to identify fast or slow-moving traffic as well as traffic jams by analyzing things like speed, location, and other crowdsourced data. Google generates a live traffic map of an area or a road. Weckert apparently took advantage of these very Google Map features to fool the app into making streets as marking streets as red. As a result, nearby users still have been diverted to other routes, even though the streets in question were actually empty. Like Paul was saying, you could do that. That makes total sense. Of course, the whole thing could also be a ruse, since the artist doesn't really go into a lot of detail on his post describing the so-called hack. Google has also commented on Weckert's experiment, but it's definitely something the tech giant should look into. Someone with malicious motives would take advantage of the loophole to actually mess with the service and its users, like Paul said that you could do, but I wouldn't listen to our advice. We're not responsible if you go out and try these shenanigans either. If you want to go out and commit tomfooleries with a bunch of cell phones, we're not taking responsibility for that. It's on you. All right, so I'm going to skate through these because if you mention this on here, look, YouTube. The Hill wrote the article. It was published today, February 3rd, 2020. I didn't say this. I'm going to read what The Hill said in their article. So you can see it on the screen, YouTube algorithm. You can see it right there. Who wrote it? I'm just going to read it. So I'm going to say it. California confirms a third new case of coronavirus. And no, millennials, it does not come from Corona Cervezas. Pull your heads out of your arse. At least 3 new cases of Wuhan coronavirus have been confirmed in California on Sunday, according to an AP report. This brings the state total to 6 cases. 1 case is located in Santa Clara County, and 2 more in San Benito County. Health officials told the press that Santa Clara case involves a woman who recently traveled to Wuhan, China, the city where the virus was first identified. The woman and her family are currently quarantined. This is now the second reported case of the coronavirus in Santa Clara County, but officials stated that it is unrelated to the first case. The 2 other cases in San Benito County involve a husband who recently traveled to Wuhan, giving the virus to his wife upon returning home. How deadly is the virus, you say, Nick Show? Well, there's no cure for it. They are working on a vaccine, and some countries are trying to expedite a vaccine. I'm not going to say how dangerous it is on here because anytime I try to look, we covered this in excess we beat this topic to the ground over on DLive. We've got all the documents. We've got the paper that was written by the Indian doctors. We've got all that stuff. We covered it in excess. We have the maps. We show those maps over on DLive because we have freedom of speech, YouTube, over on DLive. So as far as me telling you how dangerous it is, I can tell you this. There is no cure. There is no vaccination. The videos are very horrific that come out of Wuhan. If people are saying this is a hoax or they're saying there's all this misinformation, no, it's not disinformation or misinformation or whatever you want to call it. They don't want you to know how serious the situation is with the virus that's going on over there. If it starts to spread probably in this country, they might go into a panic here. But we tell everyone this. We are not doctors, okay? But as far as natural goes, or take organic oregano oil, colloidal silver. Those will help with the preventative maintenance as far as getting the disease. There's another article, and I'm not going to read it on here, but apparently a guy in the UK got it, and he drank, we call them, what do they call, like hot toddies or whatever. It's like hot whiskey and honey and lemon. He drank those, and he beat the virus. I'm not telling you to go out and drink.
If you read that article from the other day that we had, the guy is a doctor, and he's from Germany, and he was actually telling you that the way to beat all this is through your gut bacteria, and you can, but you need to do it in a certain way. And he's suggesting you use herbs and not use, because the other thing that is medical is too drastic on your system, and it basically kills everything. Whereas if you use the herbs, it's in symbiosis with those good bacteria. So if you actually read his way of treating everything, it says do this, and then if those don't see any signs of improvement after you come back for new studies, then you do the medical one, but then you go instantly right back to the herbals. This is what the doctor is saying.
Yes. Take it. Look, just research those types of things, like Paul's saying. Research the doctors that have been covering this, that know how to kind of prevent these things. And for all you dum-dums out there that are saying, oh, they've known about this coronavirus, I found an expired bottle of, whatever, 409 or whatever, and it says coronavirus on it. The flu is a coronavirus. SARS is a coronavirus. MERS is a coronavirus. This in CoV 2019 is a coronavirus. There are multiple coronaviruses. So don't say I found the cure for it. There's a classification of coronaviruses. Okay? So if you're finding on your bottle like this is the Mandela effect or something like that, no. Coronavirus is just a classification of certain viruses, and they have a whole bunch within the classification of it. So wash your dirty hands, take some organic oil, or oregano oil, and try some colloidal silver. Like Paul's saying, vitamin C, boost your immune system. You can take preventative maintenance. You're not sick right now. If you don't wash your hands, I don't know why you would, dirty people. I'm not calling you dirty people. I'm just saying, I don't know why you wouldn't wash your hands. Just take preventative measures, and you should be okay. And don't be, I could have pulled these other articles up about these people that are being, racist towards Asian people. Don't even do all that crap. I mean, that's ridiculous. So it says these cases come after the World Health Organization classified the coronavirus outbreak as a public health emergency on January the 30th, while more than 17,000 cases of the coronavirus have been reported across the globe. The current U.S. total coronavirus case is 11, with other cases reported in Tacoma and Chicago. No U.S. fatalities have been reported. So, yes, I do understand our medicine also is a little bit better here in the West as far as experimental. They're kind of old school over there. But like I'm saying, man, don't be practicing xenophobia and say, oh, because they're Asian, they've got coronavirus. And do research. Yeah, just do research.
This doctor has an outlet in Washington too, Washington State. So he's like bi-countryed.
He's established, so he knows what's up. The article that got, I'm going to say this too, the article that got Zero Hedge suspended off Twitter. Take it with a grain of salt. I know a lot of us don't understand what that article means, but take it with a grain of salt. Anytime you read anything like that on the interwebs, just read it, dissect it, compare it, and then take it with a grain of salt. They're, kicking him off for harassment, but, for stoking fears or whatever, but I don't agree with any of that. Now this YouTube is from Reuters. I'm not saying this. This is an article from Reuters. So you can go sue them or kick them off the platform. Anyways, virus fears wipe $393 billion off China's stock market despite government support moves. This is from Shanghai, Hong Kong. Investors erased $393 billion from China's benchmark stock index on Monday, sold the yuan, and dumped commodities as fears about the spreading coronavirus and its economic impact drove selling on the first day of the trade in China since the Lunar New Year. A nearly 8% plunge in the Shanghai Composite Index was its biggest daily fall in more than 4 years. The Chinese yuan blew past the 7 per dollar mark, and Shanghai traded commodities from palm oil to copper hit their maximum down limits. The wipeout came even as the central bank made its biggest cash injection to the financial system since 2004, and despite apparent regulatory moves to curb selling. The total number of deaths in China from the coronavirus rose to 361 by Sunday, compared with 17 on January the 23rd, when Chinese markets last traded. You want to know what the real decoupling from China might look like, or what if everyone just stayed at home or didn't buy anything economic thought experiment looks like? Well, here you are, folks. Rabobank strategist Michael Evey said in an afternoon note. The yuan began onshore trade at its weakest this year and was down 1.2% by the afternoon, sliding past the symbolic 7 per dollar level CNY CFXS to close at 7.0257. Shanghai traded oil, iron ore, copper, and soft commodity contracts all posted sharp drops, catching up with sliding global prices. The new virus has created alarm because it is spreading quickly. Much about it is unknown, and authorities' drastic response is likely to drag on economic growth. This will last for some time, said Iris Pang, a Greater China economist at ING. It's uncertain whether factory workers or how many of them will return, she said. We haven't yet seen corporate earnings since the spread of the coronavirus. Restaurants and retailers may have very little sales. More than 2,500 stocks fell by a daily limit of 10%, and the Shanghai Composite closed down at 7.7% at 2,746.6. Its lowest since August, and the modest recovery from early trade when it was down nearly 9%. So you can go into this, but basically what it's saying here is that it is taking a toll on their stock market because, you're pretty much quarantined. You can't work anywhere. You can't go to work. We've watched videos, and I'm going to mention these videos. We've watched videos where they're barricading people in their houses. They're not allowed to leave. And that's just going off the assumption of they have a sniffle, they have a cough, their body temperature is high or higher than average. They're barricading them in their house. We don't know how many people over there have actually died from this. And as we've showed in an article on DLive, before they were admitting it was a coronavirus, they were saying it was the Wuhan pneumonia, and that is what they were that is what they were putting on the death certificates. So, people could have died from something other than pneumonia, and the certificates were altered. That's what we're saying. We had the proof to back that up. And you can find all that on Discord. So this article says, coronavirus, China accuses U.S. of causing panic and spreading fear. The Chinese government has accused the United States of causing, quote, panic in its response to the coronavirus outbreak. The accusation comes after U.S. declared a public health emergency on Friday, and it said it would deny entry to foreign nationals who have visited China in the past 2 weeks. Chinese Foreign Minister spokesman Hua Chunying said U.S. actions would only create and spread fear. There have been more than 17,000 confirmed cases of the virus in China. What else did China say? In a news briefing on Monday, Ms. Hua accused U.S. of spreading fear instead of offering assistance, saying it was the first country to impose a travel ban on Chinese travelers and the first to suggest partial withdrawal of the embassy staff. It's precisely developed countries like the U.S. with strong epidemic prevention capabilities that have taken the lead in imposing excessive restrictions contrary to the WHO recommendations, she said, according to the Rouge report. A handful of countries like Australia also imposed an entry ban on Chinese travelers shortly after the U.S. ban. The WHO has actually warned that closing borders could accelerate the spread of the virus if travelers enter countries unofficially. Some 361 people have died from the virus in mainland China alone, and outside of China there are more than 150 confirmed cases of the virus and 1 death in the Philippines. What measures has the U.S. taken? On the 23rd of January, the U.S. ordered the departure of all non-emergency U.S. personnel and their family members from Wuhan in Hubei province, where the virus originated. Less than a week later, it allowed for the voluntary departure of non-emergency personnel and relatives of the U.S. government employees from China. On the 30th of January, the World Health Organization declared a global health emergency over the new virus. Following this, the U.S. ordered the departure of all U.S. personnel family members under the age of 21 in China. Any U.S. citizen who has been in Hubei province will be subject to a 14 days quarantine upon returning to the U.S. By the way, and I'm not going to read that article on here, 11 of those people that were on that plane have now come down with the coronavirus. What are other countries doing to stem the outbreak? Various countries have imposed travel restrictions to a varying degree. Denying entry at all foreign visitors who have recently been to China, U.S., Australia, and Singapore. Denying entry to all foreigners traveling from mainland China, New Zealand, Israel. Denying entry to foreigners who have visited Hubei province, Japan, and South Korea. Other countries have seen their national carriers temporarily suspend all flights to mainland China, and these include Egypt, Finland, Indonesia, the UK, and Italy, among others. So, global health officials have advised against the bans, and travel restrictions can cause more harm than good by hindering info sharing, medical supply chains, and harming economies. The head of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, said on Friday. The WHO instead recommends introducing screening at the border. So here's to answer your question: how deadly is the virus? More than 75,000 people may have been infected with it in the city of Wuhan, which is the epicenter of the outbreak, experts say. But estimates by the University of Hong Kong suggest the total number of cases could be far higher than the official figures. Diary of a Life Lockdown of Wuhan. So, a report on the early stages of the outbreak by the Lancet Medical Journal said the patients who died from the virus had pre-existing conditions, meaning hypertension, respiratory issues. A lot of them were elderly people. The youngest, what they're telling us, and this was 2 weeks ago, probably. So, these numbers have doubled. But one of the youngest people, I think, was 48 who suffered from this. So it says the report found that the first 99 patients treated at the Xinjiang Hospital in Wuhan, 40 had a weak heart or damaged blood vessels. A further 12 had diabetes, hypertension, diabetes, heart issues, respiratory issues. They're kind of saying, oh, this is what's going on. We're going to blame it on pre-existing disorders. So it's not. So that we can say because they had compromised immune systems or bodies or whatever you want to call it, that's what helped fuel this virus, because they were just too weak to fight it off. But I think it's just a lot more serious than what they're saying. The virus caused severe acute respiratory infection, and the symptoms seem to start with a fever followed by a dry cough. But most people infected are likely to fully recover, just as they would from the normal flu. An expert at China's National Health Commission, NHC, said 1 week was sufficient for recovery from the mild coronavirus symptoms. But I'm going to tell you this, because of the link from the map that we have, if you go to that map, the NHC has stopped updating their map or any information coming out of the NHC since the 24th of January. We haven't got an update on any of it. We're having to go other avenues to find that information. So, I have 2 more articles here. The lines are open if anyone wants to call in. That number scrolling across the bottom of the screen, 1-408-638-0968. And then when it asks for the meeting ID, 534-233-4758. Hit the pound sign twice, and Paul will screen your phone call. You can talk about any of these articles, anything you guys want to talk about. You can jump on here for a brief moment. We'll have to limit it to about 5 to 7 minutes per call. So, Mexican activists who fought to protect monarch butterflies found dead in a well. Poor butterfly guy. Look at him. Posing with his butterflies.
Just the way he said it was funny, not the fact that he died.
Right. Mexican conservationalist Homero Gomez Gonzalez was found dead Wednesday, about 2 weeks after he was reported missing, provoking a wave of sorrow from allies and advocates worldwide as they honored his work running a butterfly sanctuary in the state of... how do you pronounce that? Michoacan? Michoacan?
Yeah, that sounds fine.
I guess. We'll say that. Authorities found Gomez Gonzalez's body floating in a well in the community of El Salado de Ocampo, not far from the butterfly sanctuary, according to the Washington Post. Authorities told social media outlets that his body did not show any obvious signs of violence, but Gomez Gonzalez's friends didn't have any details. As Common Dreams reported last week, human rights advocates have expressed fears that Gomez Gonzalez have been targeted because of his activism by those involved in the local illegal logging industry, and the 50-year-old butterfly defender's family told the media that he had received threats from a criminal organization. Yep, probably. I'm gonna say that one right there. A criminal organization. Yeah, those loggers are like, "Come here, eh?" And they're like, beat him with some logs or something. I think it was the criminal organizations. A sad day today as we learn the loss of global companion and conservation, one of the most prominent defenders of the monarch butterfly. Homero Gomez Gonzalez spent years protecting their habitat from loggers and criminal groups, and Gomez Gonzalez was reported missing by his family on January the 14th, the day after he attended a meeting in the village of El Salado. BBC News noted Thursday that more than 200 volunteers had joined the search for the environmentalist, and last week the entire police forces of Ocampo and neighboring, I cannot read just Spanish words, Anjeo, I guess, were detained for questioning. The conservationist often posted videos on Twitter from his El Rosario Sanctuary, which is located in the Monarch Butterfly Biosphere Reserve, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Millions of monarch butterflies travel thousands of miles across North America to arrive each autumn in the mountainous region of Mexico, where they remain until spring. Local illegal logging has long threatened the butterflies. A Global Witness report from last year named Mexico the world's sixth deadliest country for the eco-defenders, part of a, quote, worrying global trend of environmentalists risking their safety by facing off against governments, companies, and criminal gangs that are routinely stealing land and trashing habits in pursuit of profit. Some responses to Gomez Gonzalez's death on social media highlighted the rising threats to those involved in conservation work and environmental activism. Actually doing the work of protecting the environment we live in often means threatening the most powerful and vicious people on the planet. It means putting your life and livelihood and or freedom on the line. A shocking number of environmental activists have been killed lately, and this is one particularly painful. Homero Gomez did amazing work protecting and raising awareness around the incredible overwintering of monarch butterflies in Mexico. So I'm going to just jump over to the next article because right after this happened to this dude, right after someone knocked off another monarch butterfly activist over in Mexico. So this is the second one. And this is what's crazy. So it says the second activist companion for the conservation of monarch butterflies in the woods in which they hibernate has been found dead in Mexico. Ruel Hernandez worked with a tour guide at a butterfly sanctuary. See, but this guy I don't think was even remotely... He was at a butterfly sanctuary. Yeah, in... I don't know what that word is. Michoacan State. His body, which bore signs of a beating and head injury, was found 2 days after the funeral of the other guy in the last article. Somebody's just going around killing butterfly enthusiast. It's horrible. Mr. Gomez managed a monarch butterfly sanctuary in the same state and had received threats, his family said. Ruel Hernandez, 44, disappeared on Monday the 27th of January. He had left work as usual and was last seen at midday in a village called El Oimel. His body was found 6 days later at the top of a hill in El Campanaro Monarch Butterfly Sanctuary. Forensics experts said his body was covered in bruises and he had a deep wound to his head. An investigation into his death is underway. Conservationists fear his death may be linked to that of Humero Gomez, who disappeared in the same area on the 13th of January. Mr. Gomez's body was found in a well on the 29th of January. His family said that prior to his disappearance, the activist had received threats warning him to stop his campaign against illegal logging. So anyways, man, I thought that this was weird because one popped up on my news feed, and then that one popped up on my news feed. This other guy. So I don't know. I don't know how logging, the logging people are down there in Mexico. They seem to be quite violent. But I don't think it was the logging guys. I think it was probably the cartels probably did it. You know what I mean? So anyways, pray for these guys' family. Pray for the families of the people that were killed today in Texas A&M shooting. It's a shame all this stuff has to happen. It doesn't even have to happen. It's a shame it happens in the first place. People lost their minds, man. Butterflies are pollinators. Contractor's call sign from Marv Show. His call sign is butterfly. Get a News Network. We need the butterflies and the bees, damn it. Well, I mean, why are you killing the dudes that, See, that's what I'm thinking, is what Gut is saying there. Logging and farming are run by the cartels. So, yeah. If the cartels have a hand in the logging organizations that's going on over there, then I'm pretty sure it was probably a cartel hit because it was in opposed to a logging operation going on. And they just put a hit on him. Is what it sounds like. But they knocked him and his buddy off, which I find absolutely upsetting. Let me pull up this... So, let me go on here, because I haven't, So, thank you for the ice cream, TA. I'm over at DLive right now. And thank you for the follow, Z-Square. Thank you for the follow, Scorpio1488. Anyone else that donated? Manly Chest, thanks for the lemons. I know a lot of times people say they go over to my channel to Buffering Nightmare. So, if you were on DLive, sorry I can't help you guys out over on YouTube for the 2 folks that are in there. Because people watch and they donate, I can go over to DLive and I can donate and they earn cryptocurrency for watching. So, I just put... Oh, thank you for the lemons. So I just put... I just dropped 50 lemons into the chest. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this for you guys. Nobody wants to call in. What Paul and I are going to do is we'll get off here and get some stuff situated, and then we'll probably shut down for the night and just jump back over to DLive and hang out with people over at DLive. So I'm going to make a suggestion to the people over in YouTube. In the description of this video is a link to DLive. If you go and you download the app, the chest is distributing, by the way. If you go and download the app, click on that link, it'll take you directly to here. You can earn cryptocurrency. You can sub to my channel over here. You have a lot more freedom. We could talk pretty much anything we want to over here. So you guys feel free to follow over there. Follow on all the socials, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're on DLive. Everything is in the About section on both channels. Harvir 24/5, Now My Child HD Sky 14, Z Square, and Gutta News Network. Congratulations, guys. So, if you want to find any of the social links, you can find all of those in the About section on DLive, About section on YouTube. Also, today, and I will show this on here. As a matter of fact, I think I have a link for it too. We now have a app, guys. So you
ice cream.
Thank you for the ice cream. People watching on YouTube, that's the donations that people give you. That's what I'm saying. You guys can jump over there and hang out. So I'm gonna post, if I can pull it up on this dinosaur of a internet service here before we sign off. All right, let me see if I can find this real quick. This link, if you click on this link here, that link that I just posted on your phone or whatever, on your computer, it's going to take you to a thing. You can download this app. And it'll take you to a Kingsman Report app. And on this, you guys will have the freedom to say whatever you want to, like on DLive. It's managed by me. Just don't go crazy with it, you know what I mean? But you can chat. You can chat with each other. You can trade information with each other. We can create groups for each other on there. There's forums on here. There's groups on here. You can talk to different members who are on here. You can go to all these different things. And, you know, we're not going to suppress your freedom of speech unless you just absolutely go haywire on there. But other than that, just download the app right there. You guys can join on there and come hang out with us. As far as getting an alert, it has the chat integrated directly into it. So, for instance, me and Paul like trading ideas today. You get an alert just like you would with the Facebook Messenger. So, it's very quick. It also, if you go to my profile, links to the website. It links to everything on there. If you want to buy any merch or anything like that, you guys can go to the About section. We have all the links to the socials in there. We have all the links to the merch store, everything. You guys enjoy yourselves. So, we're going to go ahead and jump off here. I'm going to reset some things, and then we'll jump back over onto... We'll jump back over onto DLive and hang out with you guys there. So, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Paul, is there anything you wanted to add before we leave? If you're still there. I think he stepped away.
No, it's
there he is.
been pretty good.
I
think we got most things.
All right. We will post this to probably this evening, late tonight. I'll record this in. It will go up on to podcast form. Available on all platforms. iTunes, Google Podcast, Breaker, Anchor, anywhere you could think of. Available in podcast. You guys can go listen to it there. So until next time, like I said, we're going to jump off here. We'll come back over to DLive. Until next time, you guys have a wonderful evening. DLive will see you back here shortly, and then we'll host on somewhere else. YouTube. Everyone get off YouTube. Go to DLive. So, you guys have a wonderful evening. Yah bless and shalom.